What is constipation and how to fix it? Welcome to the 1% Better Performance channel. My name is Nate Bledecki, registered dietitian, and today we're going to talk through a big topic in the dietitian world, which is going to be poop. Yes, we talk about it all the time with our clients, and it's a very important, regimen in order to detoxify the body properly, right? So while a lot of people don't like to bring it up when they're talking to their healthcare professional, it is very, very important. And if you are not having consistent and normal bowel movements, it's something to get checked out right away. So to start off, what is constipation? It's actually defined by having 3 or fewer stools in a week, or just having a very, very difficult time passing stool when you're constantly, in the bathroom and not able to go. So kind of talking through the causes of constipation, as the first thing. So there's a bunch of different ones that I want to go over, but to start off, lack of water tends to be a big one, and lack of fiber tends to be the other one. So those are kind of the main 2 things that I like to start off with and saying, okay, are we hitting our fiber goals per day? Are we eating enough fruits and vegetables? Are we having a good combination of soluble and insoluble fiber? And then are we drinking enough water? And I could add to that electrolytes as well, right? Because water is just part of the combination of staying hydrated. We also need to have enough electrolytes to be able to move these systems through and make sure that you are staying fully hydrated. So those are the first 2 markers that I would kind of look at. And from there, I could go into lack of daily movement, gut dysbiosis. So basically having too much of the bad bacteria and not enough of the good bacteria in the gut, lack of digestive enzymes, so this could be the pancreas not producing enough of the enzymes that we need to break down these nutrients fully, and that kind of slows down the digestive process. It could be low stomach acidity. I see this very, very often. So the body is not producing a good enough level of, of stomach acid. The stomach pH levels is going to be thrown off, and then we're not able to break down food further like we need to. It's going to sit and ferment in our stomach. And then also I would add in the resisting urge to use the bathroom as one too, right? Because maybe you're hitting all these correctly and you just are physically not actually going to the bathroom. And trust me, this does happen and is very common as well. So these are the kind of the main causes of constipation, and I want to talk through different ways to be able to treat all these different causes, and so that you can stay on a consistent bowel movement schedule and be able to feel your best on your day to day, right? So in terms of treatment, there's a lot of different things that you could add in to kind of improve, and I would take it one by one and not add all of these all together, because it just might be, like I said, maybe you're not drinking enough water, maybe your stomach pH levels are not correct, maybe you're not on a good schedule. And so kind of finding what areas will work for you and then diving into that will probably be the best approach. So starting off, if we can hit 1 gallon of water per day, that is obviously perfect. Now, if you are used to drinking 60 ounces of water a day, going all the way up to a gallon is going to feel very, very like a big change, right? So just slowly work this up. I always suggest having some water, before a meal and then after a meal. And then obviously we want to be drinking in between our meals as well. So kind of aiming for a cup at each meal, before and after, and then in between. And you can slowly kind of work your way up to that 1 gallon per day, or, 128 ounces, however you want to look at it in terms of trying to count for that. Then we add in the fiber goals: 25 grams for females, 38 grams for males. And like I talked about, a combination of soluble and insoluble fiber is obviously going to be the most effective. So making sure that you get this from a variety of different fruits and vegetables, legumes, nuts, lots of different types of antioxidants, and getting in a lot of nutrients will help. So just making sure to, fully get in your fiber content from a bunch of different options. And that will also be very important for improving this right here, which is going to be gut dysbiosis. So when we're eating the right foods and feeding the gut with the right bacteria, this is also going to help that, and that's just going to help things move smoothly through the digestive process. So if we can aim for 8,000 steps a day, increasing the exercise, and I highly suggest using this in terms of after meals, right? So not only does it help with blood sugar, but it also just aids the digestive process. Now, this doesn't mean go for a 5-mile run immediately after you eat, but if you can kind of move around a little bit, even if it's around the house, if you can go outside, walk for 10-15 minutes, I find this really, really helps with the digestive process, even if you're not suffering from constipation. So that can be a big one that will really help too. Go ahead and remove any artificial sweeteners, any food sensitivities. This one is pretty, obvious in terms of we don't want to eat foods that are aggravating our digestive system. So making sure to maybe cut out things like gluten and dairy, any processed options, because those are generally going to include artificial sweeteners. And we're basically just focusing on having whole foods that are high nutrient dense foods with lots of fiber, and making sure that those are the ones that are going to be able to digest properly, right? When we know what we're putting in our body, there's a better way of being able to have a plan of action for what's going to digest well and what isn't going to digest well. You can use caffeine in appropriate amounts, and I say appropriate amounts because if you're relying on using caffeine to go to the bathroom, then that is a problem in itself, right? So obviously it can be used as a tool in the toolbox, but it's not something that we want to rely on every single day. So just saying, oh, I'm not going to eat fiber, I'm just going to have protein and drink coffee, it's not a good plan of action. Okay. Same goes for magnesium citrate. This is something that I will suggest with a lot of my clients if they're feeling a little bit backed up and we need to kind of get things moving. Because basically what it will do is pull extra water into the intestines and kind of move things through a little bit faster. It's going to soften the stool and make sure that goes through the system a little bit faster than it usually would. This is something I usually suggest in terms of like travel. If you're having cheat meals, then maybe you're going to sit in the stomach a little bit longer and we can kind of get the process moving a little bit more. But it's not something that I would take chronically every single day because the body can become reliant on it, similar to caffeine too. A high dosage of vitamin C has been shown to, decrease the transit time in the body. So I highly suggest, taking a vitamin C supplement or having it as part of your multivitamin, or simply, can we get that from our food intake on the day-to-day too? Partialized hydrolyzed guar gum. That's a nice mouthful that I like to say, but this is going to actually help really increase the insoluble fiber, right? So a lot of foods are going to contain soluble fiber, but if we can increase the insoluble, it's going to add to the bulk and basically, once again, help push that through the system a little bit faster. So I found this to be very useful too. Scheduled bathroom times. This sounds like, something that you would use with toddlers or something like that to make sure they actually go to the bathroom. But trust me, you can use it in adults too, right? So, if you actually plan out the times that you are trying to go, that's going to train the body to know that that is the time to detoxify and get things through the system. And it actually works very well. So I would highly suggest using, you don't have to be like on the dot, on the minute every day. But if you can have a general sense of when you go, that will help too. Apple cider vinegar with lemon juice before meals to prime stomach acidity. This one, very, very underrated. Okay. And this is going to help with our stomach acidity. So if you have a low stomach acid level, which messes with your pH levels, then adding this apple cider vinegar, which is very acidic, right before meals will kind of help prime the digestion, right? And you can add that along with some pancreatic enzymes is generally what I suggest. And this is going to help basically break down the food at a faster and improved rate, and that is going to help obviously push things through the system faster, so decrease transit time. So like I said, if you are not breaking down the food properly, of course it's just going to sit in the stomach and ferment, and that's going to back up the entire process, which is going to cause constipation. Okay. So making sure that we are chewing fully, having water with our meals, getting up and moving, all these things are going to speed up and aid in the digestion process. And that is very, very important in order to make sure that we're staying consistent with our bowel movements. Last but not least, incorporate some prebiotic foods and probiotics to help feed healthy gut bacteria. And essentially what I mean by this is to improve if you have gut dysbiosis, or essentially you just aren't taking in the right type of foods, the right type of nutrients day to day. We want to make sure that we're feeding the gut with the right bacteria, right? So adding in prebiotic foods or probiotics, fermented foods are a great way to do this. So adding in some yogurt, some kefir, if you aren't lactose intolerant or not worried about inflammation levels, you can add in some different types of dairy that will help kind of feed the gut bacteria. And then obviously having a appropriate amount of fiber in terms of soluble, insoluble will also help too. So there are many different ways to go about this. If you have a really bad case, I would always suggest getting a GI map and kind of seeing what bacteria you have too much of, what you have too little of, how can you improve that? And that's kind of a much more detailed approach. But just as a general guideline, adding more pro and prebiotics will definitely help aid in the digestion process. So I hope this helps give a good outline onto what things you can improve, not only just constipation, but just the digestive process as a whole. I would say that, above all, drinking enough water, having enough fiber, and then maybe adding in the ACV with lemon juice and the pancreatic enzymes to be, just a really good plan of action to have in general, right? It's not going to hurt anything. If you really need to resolve issues that are more short-term things, adding high dosage of vitamin C, the magnesium citrate, some caffeine can all be things. And then of course we want to reduce, inflammation and food sensitivities just as an overall health guideline. So I think all of these things can be, added to your routine in appropriate amounts when needed, if it's something you're not focusing on. And I would highly suggest to use a lot of these areas and treatments just to improve your digestion as a whole. So as always, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. If you're looking for a protocol yourself, just go ahead and send me a message or an email, and I'd be happy to chat with you and kind of break down what symptoms you're having and how we can best approach to fix that and get you on the right path.